This podcast is synced to Dave giving Matt a well-deserved backhander.
Sync.
Alright guys, welcome to the MattG podcast. I'm joined by Baby. Dave.
What's up?
It's good to see you. Introduce yourself.
So, here's the Asian Dave.
Asian Dave, right? And...
Mr. Techx.
So, how are we all? Dave looks like he's been struck by lightning for some reason, but...
Yeah, patient at work tried to give me a hug and he's a psycho.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ray is off suffering a bullet-related incident at the minute, so yeah, he won't be joining us this week. But we've got Baby to say some things, haven't we, Baby?
I think Baby's too busy enjoying her crisps.
Yeah, indeed. Alright, so we've got a couple of topics that we're going to talk about today. Got some comments to talk about, then we've got... we're going to do a thing on the future of the Xbox and gaming console industry. Then we're going to do sort of news review on a sort of older subject, which is the TV superhero genre. And then after that, we're going to do a review on Captain Marvel. Now, unfortunately, Tech hasn't actually seen Captain Marvel, even though that we put numerous messages on our podcasting group that we were going to be talking about this. I mean, he's only just announced this a few hours ago that he hasn't actually seen it yet. So we're going to be doing that last so that he can leave halfway through and not get anything spoiled. Okay, well, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about our comments and the future of our sort of channel. We've recently just released our sort of two major videos. We've had the Scrap Mechanic Challenge mode and our 7 Days to Die episode. So, what was your feeling on both of those?
I think, well, Scrap Mechanic went quite well.
Yeah.
It was quite fun. It was a good laugh. 7 days, we struggled at the beginning. But I think as we go along, things should improve quite a lot.
And hopefully Dave will be joining us on future episodes.
Yeah.
Won't you, Dave?
Yes.
Yes. But so what else have we got in mind? We've obviously got more 7 Days to Die episodes coming up.
We have.
I've still got my Attila campaign, which I'm still recording, unfortunately. Do we have anything else in mind?
I'm thinking of, I mentioned this to Matt earlier, playing a game called Satisfactory. Quite a lot of people have been playing it, and I might be putting that up on my channel, so that'll be something to look out for.
Okay, well, if none of you have ever heard of this game, but Satisfactory is a game that's just come out of alpha, or is it in alpha?
It's still in alpha. So basically it's an open world, first person game, where the idea is to mine resources and with them resources build a factory to make a big automation process, and the end game is to make a space elevator. And so it's basically mine all you can, literally turn this very nice looking surrounding into a big huge factory.
Yeah, I mean, but we saw a preview just before we started recording on this, and the graphics look bloody amazing.
Oh yeah.
There's details on things that I wouldn't even consider putting them on, like that giant whale thing that we saw. That was. But it's a survival craft game, isn't it? Like you do have dangers and stuff. You're not just wandering around with a giant pickaxe.
So there's some danger elements to it, but again, it's still in alpha. There's chance of more hazards and things coming around. So be something to look out for.
All right, so we've got that. Oh, by the way, it's Mechanized Gaming that your channel's called, isn't it?
Should be what it's called, yes.
Is your channel actually up yet?
Not up just yet. I plan to get it up in a few days.
Okay, so hopefully that will coincide with when we release this actual podcast. So I'll put a link in the description to Tech's channel, subscribe to it, and enjoy it as much as you can. Alright, so let's move on to the comments. Unfortunately, Baby is crawling all over me, so this might be interesting. Okay, so these two are from our last podcast, which was the Super Bowl Avengers trailer at RTX and VR podcast. They're quite long-winded, so I'll summarise them. But we basically have one from Stuart Kai Barker. Topics are great, but there's still sound issues. And basically a big sort of description on how we can fix that. We are currently working on our audios. We've recently, we've just decked out the entirety of where we are with soundproofing and different texts and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Dave is waving his microphone literally everywhere, so his audio is going to be crap. So Dave should really keep his microphone in the same place. Dave. That's why your microphone has a clip on it, so you can clip it to your coat. Yeah. But we are working on it. But I've been attending loads of audio seminars and stuff like that, so I hope this sounds a lot better than previous episodes. I've recently just got a new editing software package, so hopefully that will help as well. And on that note, I would just like to say very kindly, fuck UPS. Okay, so next one, animated thought bubble again. Her comment is basically based about what we've been talking about with the Super Bowl trailer. And she basically says she doesn't think that society would fall apart. She would think that the entire civilization of humanity would collapse and it would be completely game over. We might last for another year or so, but in the end we will just completely destroy ourselves. What do you guys think about that?
That's a good question. I would probably disagree still.
Dave?
I think I'd be in agreement with Techx but I would say that maybe unsettled for a short period, unknown time frame, or would be very unsettled after the events of what happens.
Yeah, but I'm sort of split down the middle. She does have a point. There would be a very long period where civilization would just completely lose its shit. But given that we've seen the aftermath of this event, we can sort of hold the assumption that something of civilization has survived. But I do like the feedback on it. But definitely keep up with anything that we talk about in this. It is a good thing to sort of think about. Would we survive if something like this would happen? But as I said, I'm split down the middle. We would lose our shit, but we would eventually sort of get round it eventually, even if it's a case of survival of the fittest, winning out, and Captain America is ruling the world in a Avengers dictatorship sort of thing. First topic of tonight: the future of Xbox and the game console industry. Now, at last E3, Microsoft basically had their various consoles come out. So we've had news of what's called Project Scarlet for quite a while, but we've had two new things. What was it? Lockhart and Anaconda, wasn't it?
That's correct.
So these basically seem to be two consoles that do the same thing, but one is more kick-ass than the other.
Yeah, so kind of like the two versions of the Xbox Ones. Was it X and the S?
Yeah. So which one is which again? Is it Lockhart, which is the deluxe, or is it the other one? No, Tech is not pissing himself. Foot Baby is playing with a cup of water.
I think Lockhart was the more powerful one.
Well, I'll look it up when I'm editing this podcast, and I can put the correct answer on later. So, yeah, the main thing that Microsoft have been selling with this sort of idea is that they're introducing I'm going to have to say this slowly so I don't get tongue-tied. the discless Xbox system, as opposed to the dickless system, which I've been saying multiple times when I practice that. So Microsoft basically wants to become the new Netflix of video gaming.
Yeah.
And so, well, first off, how do we feel about that?
I think it's a brave idea, but I don't think it's a bit too early for the moment.
Well, bearing in mind that this isn't going to come to fruition for at least another 2-ish years. So they've got 2 years, possibly a little bit extra of sort of like patches and bugs to fix this. Do you think they can make it a perfect system in that time?
I'm going to say no.
Dave?
I don't think so either. There's still going to be some teething issues once it's launched.
Oh yeah, obviously. But I have to say, if anybody was going to do it, I think Microsoft is in the best position to do it.
Yeah.
Because like Microsoft have a lot of programs that others don't. Like they've got their Xbox and PC exclusives, and when I say exclusives, but you then have like their backwards compatibility, their Game Pass. Like they've got a lot of download orientated stuff.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it has been a long time since I walked into my latest video game store, actually bought a disc, and then brought it home, plugged it in, and like installed the game.
Yeah.
The majority of games that are on discs, you still have to download a massive
File.
chunk with them. So I mean, me and Tech, we're part of the PC Master Race.
Yeah.
And so, like, when was the last time that you played a game that you played off of a CD?
Oh. Long time ago.
Yeah.
My computer hasn't even got a CD drive.
Yeah, so I could understand with the console. Yeah, they are there specifically for you to put something into it and for it to run that program.
Yeah.
But given how cheap download games can suddenly be, you know, Black Friday deals, Christmas deals, and all that, would you really notice if Microsoft suddenly stopped, or Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, whatever, if they just suddenly stopped doing physical games and did download only games?
I think it'll have a impact on some stores, like high street shops.
Oh yeah, like, high street shops will obviously like burn and die and all that crap, but like, would you as a gamer notice any difference?
I suppose it depends on if you like buying second-hand games and things like that.
The new Xbox will obviously have to have some form of having a disc system put into it, even if it's like a USB CD runner or something like that, for games that aren't part of this disc system.
Well, that's the thing though. They're saying backwards compatibility. I reckon that'd be a download thing.
That's true.
They'd download the old game and run it that way.
Well, I can remember whenever I got the Xbox 360, and I got that pretty much on day 2. And I remember I had 3 games on it, and the majority of the games I still played on the 360 were the original Xbox games that still ran on it, simply because there were so few games actually out at the time. So do you think that's going to be a problem? So like, we're on day 1, we spend like 6 hours queuing outside our local game store. We got the console, and like, assume we got a bundle deal with it, and we got the latest Halo Infinity game with it. Like, what if that is the only game that we can get at that time? Or do you think that's going to happen? There's going to be like an entire library of games ready to play?
No, there never is when they launch a console. They're probably just going to have limited 12 maybe.
Yeah, so...
It normally takes some time for them to catch up.
Yeah, we've got the sort of like super expensive 4K version. Like, you spend, let's say, 500 quid on this thing. You get like all the cabling, your 4K ready TV and all that. You basically plug everything in, only to find that you don't have anything to play on this.
Yeah, but again, doesn't that happen with all consoles?
True.
Like, I think we're quite used to it at the moment. We're used to consoles coming out and only having a couple selection of games. You play them, then by the time you finish them games, more games would have come out.
No, it's true. I mean, obviously Halo Infinite is going to have a massive multiplayer platform on it.
Yeah.
And, that's obviously going to eat into people's time. So that would buy, the other manufacturing games and stuff time to sort of breathe properly. But do you think that, like, in a sort of like logistics capacity, assuming that suddenly like an entire library of games is available, like, would anybody notice that it's no longer a disc-orientated system?
I reckon it's going to be so widespread that everyone's going to know that it's not going to have any discs after that. I don't think anyone will be surprised that there's no disc drive in it.
I think it'd be a good concept, but probably take a little bit of getting used to for those that are used to buying a physical game in a shop and putting the disc in. But saying that, there could, again, as we mentioned before, there would be some sort of accessory which you plug in via USB for a disc system on the console.
Well, do you think that sort of like theoretical USB system would be something that would be necessary in order to run it at first, or do you think it's just going to be like a convenient add-on that will just be passed by some bootleg to soft hardware company that makes them?
Might be, I'm not sure if Microsoft themselves would do it, but I think they might outsource it to a third-party company, just because they can make them cheaper and they'd be a bit more affordable for those that want the disc system but don't want to pay but a couple of $100 on top of the console for the disc accessory from Microsoft itself.
Well, the main concern that I have for this download system is that the size of these games, like in terms of like software capacity, is going to be absolutely massive. Yeah, I could imagine like several hundred gigabytes per game, particularly like the blockbuster things like Call of Duty or Halo. Unless they find some sort of like way to compress these things into small amounts, because I mean the hard drives on these things will have to be absolutely massive.
Oh, I think it depends on how they handle the hard drive situation. As you know, if the original 360, you had the hard drive that goes on top. With the Xbox One, you can only use proper branded hard drives. Yeah. For example, PlayStation's gone the opposite route. You can take out any old hard drive and put a new one in, and that's it. I would love Microsoft to do that. I doubt they will, but if they do, depending on what size hard drives they put in, you could get a 12 or even 16 terabyte drive, which are already out for PC. So just sliding one of them in, you'd be set for years.
So, but would this be like a replaceable hard drive, or would you prefer like a replaceable hard drive and the capacity to put your own drive in? So then inbuilt and then plug in an external.
Well, the problem is, the larger the games get, the more speed data transfer you're going to require.
Yeah.
It depends on if, for example, USB 3 is fast enough to transfer that data off the hard drive onto the console.
Well, do you think that we'll be in like the next generation of USB by the time this thing comes out?
Potentially.
I'm not too sure. It's USB Type-C. Is actually, if I remember correctly, there's a new format called Thunderbolt coming out. So Thunderbolt uses the USB Type-C connection.
Mm.
So but you can do more things with it. For example, you can display video outputs, networking, file transfer. You can even charge devices which via this. Plus the data transfer is going to be even faster, I believe. So if they have that, it's possible.
So, but do you think there's going to be a sort of like, I don't know, a lag on like the initial games while like, so they bring out this like brand new technology, assuming it works, like this like ultra massive like console, but the USB connection is what's lacking. Like, do you think that'll be down to the customer to sort out, or do you think Microsoft will think of this beforehand?
Well, I'd imagine that Microsoft would have thought about it. However, they would rely on the customer to get the right hardware.
Yeah, I can. A sort of fear that I have, because they've got this deluxe model and the simplistic model. The simplistic model will be lacking, and the deluxe will be up to scratch. And then people who buy the standard edition then call up support, and all the support has to offer them is, well, if you bought this console, then you won't have this problem.
And that's probably one of the reasons why they're doing it, to be honest.
Because like, I remember an article that I read. I can't for the life of me remember what it was, but it was near whenever Xbox One was coming out, and people basically picked up on the fact that you would need a constant internet connection just to run the simplest games, even if that game wasn't running off the internet.
Yeah, I still don't like that.
And basically, and Microsoft's only response to this was, well, if you don't want to play online games, buy a 360. So we've got these customers who, for whatever reason, doesn't have this deluxe console. Like, they can't afford it. They don't have the tech for it or whatever, and Microsoft is just going to leave them in the dirt. So, but do you think that's going to affect sales of the standard edition?
I'm going to say no, because those who can't afford the deluxe one are just going to get the standard anyhow.
Well, I suppose it depends on whether the deluxe version is going to be made up of parts that you can then put onto the standard edition to make it deluxe.
Again, the way things are going, I doubt they're going to do that.
Well, I suppose this sort of thing isn't really down to Microsoft to organise, because people are going to be going to franchised places to buy these consoles, and those franchise places are going to have their own deals, prices, etc. on these products.
Yeah.
So I suppose if I don't know, if the release coincided with a Christmas or something, like that video game marketer might then say that because of this Christmas deal, you can get so much off the deluxe model. That brings it more or less down to the standardized cost normally. Because let's face it, I'm probably going to go and get this latest console from Amazon. And if Amazon have their own bundle deal, discount offers and stuff like that, then that's for Amazon to deal with, not Microsoft. So, but I suppose at the end of the day, that's really the point that matters. How the retailers are going to manage it. But the thing that I would really hate to happen is for the different retailers to basically say, if you buy it from us, you will get this unique system, point, or this unique game, or this unique skin for Halo Infinity that you can't get from Amazon, or you can't get from player.com or whatever it's called. And people are basically just mass buying these Xboxes just to get this exclusive content, and then throwing out the add-on consoles into second-hand shops, which will then make it look like this console is crap. But that's basically talking about the console itself. What do we think about this sort of new perspective that Microsoft is going with this sort of full-out streaming system? Because because they've been talking about it as a streaming service, not a download the game and play it in the comfort of your own living room. But they're talking about it as if you log into a server and you're then streaming your controller to that server with your Xbox being sort of like the broadband or router or whatever. And then all you're basically doing is downloading the license to play this game.
That seems technically you wouldn't own the game, would you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You would own the license to play it, and I could imagine so many sort of licensing problems coming up, particularly if a game comes out and it's so massive that buying it crashes the server and stuff. Like people buy the license, the server crashes, and then the server doesn't recognise that they've bought it, but it's accepted their money, sort of thing. Because that happens all the time. Yeah, so.
The thing is, with Netflix, for example, you go and watch a movie, that's it. You're done. It's very unlikely that you're going to go and watch that movie again for quite a long time. With games, however, sometimes you want to go back to them.
Yeah, you would play them over a very long sort of period if they're particularly good.
So, as it's a service, you're probably going to have to... Well, it depends if they give you lifetime access to the games or not.
Yeah, this is something that is going to worry me a lot. If every single game became a subscription-based service.
Yeah.
So, because the thing that really pissed me off about this was games like World of Warcraft and Star Wars Old Republic Online, where you would spend a small fortune, like 40 quid, $50, buying the actual game, and then you would then have to pay like $10 a month, 6 or 7 quid a month to then continue to play it, even though that you spent all of this money buying it.
Yeah.
So I would hate for Microsoft to go down that route, and let's face it, that's a route they probably would attempt to go down because it makes money.
Yeah. To be fair, they kind of done that already with Xbox Live.
Yeah, but that's sort of like the right to be online, as opposed to the right to just purely play things. I mean, admittedly, the services that you get without Xbox Live Gold is incredibly limited, but you can still do some stuff.
I think it's things like that that keeps me on the PC.
Yeah.
Because the largest service at the moment for games on the PC is Steam.
Yeah.
Completely free.
Yeah, you download a game on Steam, and that's it. You have the game on Steam. It's yours to do with legality standing. I could see a lot of these programs and stuff roping people in with skins, exclusive weaponry, cutscenes, shortcuts, and stuff like that. And the whole loot crate system has been debated, for not actually years, but a very long time, to the point that countries have actually made loot crates illegal because it's basically gambling for kids. So, do you think we're going to be seeing a more extreme version of that?
Again, it's always possible.
So, we're basically looking at a streaming service, and one of the main weaknesses of a streaming service is that you need a constant internet connection. So, if you're at home and you have your Wi-Fi plugged in and you've got a good service, that's obviously not a problem. But if you're living in a rundown area, Microsoft and Xbox has basically hinted at this system where people are going to be able to play Xbox games on their phones and on their tablets, basically anything with a constant connection. Like train stations, walking down the streets with their phones plugged into Xbox controllers, or something like that, where people are basically just going to be beaming the buttons that they're pressing to the server, and then that image is going to be sent back to them. But the first thought that I can basically see on this is that it is going to be as laggy as fuck.
Yeah.
Because playing a game solely online, and if your bandwidth drops for that millisecond, that's enough to crash the entire game. In some cases. Yes,
Depends on the game as well.
Again, it depends like how they set it up. I mean, the biggest issue would be input lag.
yeah. Because say you're playing COD or something like that, and like you see an enemy just about to kill you, then it lags or something like that because suddenly a grenade goes off in the background and that takes up all the graphics processing or something.
I mean, it seems like if you press a button, you have to wait for that signal to go over to the server. Server's got to process it. Server's then got to display the output, send that back to you, and then your console's got to decode that and then play it on screen.
And then you have to react to that.
Yeah, so it's going to have a noticeable effect to it. And like with like a service like Netflix, for example, that isn't time sensitive. So it doesn't. The way it works is it just sends your computer all the data, then your computer would then process that information and display it on screen seamlessly. Whereas this is just going to keep sending you video in real time, which will always have some form of latency to it.
So does that basically mean that the games that are going to be on this system, assuming that this system will eventually exist and work perfectly, does that basically mean that the games that will appear on this are going to be ridiculously simplistic? Like you have the phone version of COD, the next God of War game, or no, not God of War because that's PS4, but so the next Halo game, there's going to be like the console edition and then like the phone console edition or something like that, and the phone console edition is a much more toned down version. Graphics are worse. Maybe even the input system is different.
I'd say technically the graphics could actually be improved because you probably have some of the old servers with loads and loads and loads and loads of graphics cards which do all the processing work for your graphics to make it look even better. The problem is getting that information from the server back to your phone or your tablet.
But if we're basically going to have this streaming system, does that basically mean that the Xbox is just going to become another app in the App Store that people can just download and sign into? Because
So what you're saying is Microsoft technically just making the Xbox itself obsolete?
Yes, the physical hard copy of an Xbox console. Is there going to be any point in having this if you can just download the exact same thing from your Google Play or Apple Store or whatever, and it just be like another app that you can load up on your phone, which then links to a server, and your phone doesn't actually do any of the hard work?
It's possible.
What's your opinion, Dave? You've been quite quiet for all of this.
Now, with the streaming service, I personally think that actually, for actually streaming service for games, I personally can't see that working because, again, as we've already discussed, there's the connection issue. And argument's sake, if you can't afford to get mobile, if you can't afford to get any internet access in your own home, you're gonna have to kind of have a physical thing actually pre-downloaded for you onto the console to play it. So
they're obviously going to have some sort of multiple licenses system where you can where when you buy the game you get like a maximum 5 copies or something like that and you assign your various devices to your account, so every single one of these devices will be able to access your game library. Or would it be one download is one license?
Oh, that thing, it's technically not a download, is it?
Okay, one product, shall we say then, per buy.
I would imagine they do it per account.
Okay. So one item for one payment.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they probably have it so you can only use that account using that one item on one device at a time.
Yeah. So we wouldn't be able to have like whatever console we have at home. That would need to be have one game on it with one license. Then, quite separately, you'll then have to buy the game again to play it on your phone.
No, I think it would probably link to your account.
Yeah, but then how many times would you be able to do that? Because then obviously that's a recipe for piracy if you do like an unlimited sort of point. But say, Dave didn't want to pay for his game.
Yeah.
So I basically buy the game for myself, give him access to my account, and then he is able to play, stream the game from my account on his device, but he hasn't paid for any of it. That's sort of what I'm trying to get at.
That's true. However, think about it, the Steam service already has this feature. So you can share your games. The only issue is, while someone's playing one of them games, another person on the same account can't.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There is a safeguard in place.
Yeah, there would be some kind of safeguard. So that one account can only play one game at a time.
So say I've got like a family account, but I'm going to work and I'm killing aliens on my phone. That then means that my wife at home would be able to play her games on the consoles at the same time.
No,
She'd have to have her own account.
that's correct. That's how I believe they're probably going to do it.
Well, Xbox does have, I would like to say unique sharing system, but obviously things like Steam and stuff have sharing systems as well, where but you can basically label one Xbox as your home system and another Xbox the other person's system and share games that way, and that works quite simultaneously. So do you think something like that could be transposed onto this streaming system?
It's entirely possible.
Saying that though, with that, I know that when PlayStation 4 was launched, they had this share play thing. So if your friend was playing a particular game, they could share it with you if they were struggling on a particular bit. And if it's got online multiplayer, you could beam into that game, help them, and then just come back out like nothing's ever happened.
Yeah, but is that actually playing the game, or is that more of a jack in, jack out as a guest system?
Kind of like I think it's more like a guest system. I've not actually used it myself, but I've heard of other people use it.
Yeah, because if I wanted to come round yours and play COD, for example, but I would want to actually play the game with you. I wouldn't, with my own stats, being able to collect my own points, experience, level up, customize my own character. I wouldn't want to just be some randomly assigned NPC, where my only purpose in life is to help you get your points. If that makes sense. Okay, so do we have anything else to say on this subject?
I think that's about it.
The first thing that we want to talk about, well, we basically had this, wanted to have this talk whenever The Punisher got cancelled, which basically marked the complete and total death of the Netflix Avengers. But I mean, I think we still got like a new series of Jessica Jones to come out.
I think I've heard that as well.
But that is going to be the end of it. Everything has been cancelled, and they're not going to be doing anything more than that. So the first question I want to ask you, Dave, does this mean that we're going to be seeing Netflix Avengers in the MCU movies?
I'm 50-50 on that. I can see them doing cameos, but not in ways that we think.
So not in any sort of major, oh my god, it's Daredevil, let's go kick our enemies' asses together sort of capacity.
Because I think Daredevil might pop up in, if there's a new Captain America, Daredevil might pop up in that, possibly, because I feel like they've got a similar, well, they're quite similar in the sense that where they've got, they're doing what they think is right for everything, and maybe possibly Luke Cage as well.
Well, this is sort of like the main thing, because characters like Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Iron Fist, they were in the comic books. They're quite integral characters in the Civil War storyline. But obviously, the Civil War has come and gone. Anything about them whatsoever. And so, given that it's been the better part of what, 8-10 years since the first Daredevil series came out, and they're obviously in the same universe and everything. But in all that time, the movies have never once made reference to any of them.
No. But Netflix cancelling the Netflix Avengers could lead to them actually popping up gradually into the films and potentially becoming mainstream.
Well, but I'm sort of against that idea because look, this whole cancelling of the Netflix Avengers really just smells to me of bureaucracy, because we've got systems like Disney Plus coming out and stuff like that, where we're going to be having more Avenger-orientated TV shows, like with Hawkeye, Guardians of the Galaxy, and stuff like that coming out, and like the whole sort of like agreement that put Marvel in Netflix in the first place, that was basically done back when Marvel and Disney didn't necessarily have its own service. So if but all of this stuff is supposed to be going over to Disney Plus, or whatever it's called, Disney Play, then it basically means that Marvel and Netflix are then going to become corporate rivals. So Netflix would then have no reason to maintain the agreement of doing shows for them, because they're basically just backing a competitor. So there is a chance that we're going to be seeing the Marvel Avengers. Maybe a slim chance, but we're going to see the Marvel Avengers maybe reappear in their same sort of roles, but on Disney Plus instead of on Netflix.
Well, you say that, but did you know that Netflix run on Amazon servers?
Yes, I did actually. Because there are a lot of Amazon-based shows which have been cancelled by Amazon, which are now going to be appearing on Netflix.
But yeah, all of them are actually, just most of the servers are owned by Amazon.
Yeah.
But for a business perspective, Netflix is paying Amazon to host and just for all their servers. So it might as well in Amazon's view, they got their own streaming service, and they're getting paid to host another streaming service.
Yeah, but that's more a case of we are paying you to exist, as opposed to we are paying you to be our competitor. Because, I mean, I can honestly say hand to heart that the Amazon streaming service is nothing compared to Netflix.
It's not, but that's mostly due to licenses.
Yes. But I get the feeling that Disney Play or Plus, or whatever it's called, is going to have no shortage of licenses. They have no shortage of money, and the only reason why it would go south is just simply if it didn't work, sort of thing.
True, but the thing is, with the Disney's one, it's mostly just going to be for Disney movies.
Yeah, but with Avengers, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then all of the kids' movies and stuff like that, with all the live action stuff that's coming out, they don't really have that much shortage of material, do they?
No.
I mean, I don't think that we're going to be seeing things like Daredevil Season 4. I get the feeling it's going to be Daredevil is going to be appearing in other things.
Yeah.
But with the same actor, the same background and stuff like that. Or they might just completely revamp the entire saga. Because, I mean, I've seen Daredevil and the Defenders. I've seen everything I would need to see in that. But, it does seem to me that Daredevil's story is over.
Yeah, I mean...
spoiler alert, but I mean, Elektra's dead. Or is she? I haven't seen Iron Fist yet. So he's majoritarily defeated the Hand. Fisk is back in prison and has a reason to stay in prison. He's very much left the Daredevil persona behind.
Yeah.
And he seems quite firmly set on being Matt Murdock and not Daredevil.
Yeah.
So,
Because I'm not sure, you've seen season 3 of Daredevil, haven't you? Yeah, I mean, the way that ended, the way I felt it is that he's retired from the Daredevil role and gone back to being a lawyer because he realised being Daredevil is actually making him lose those that are close to him.
I mean, Tech, have you seen the Daredevil?
I haven't actually seen any superhero TV shows.
Oh, okay. Are you going to?
Maybe.
Okay.
But
By the way, Bruce Wayne becomes Batman at the end of Gotham.
I think there might be another season being filmed of that.
Well, that's something I want to talk about as well, which is the cancellation of Arrow. If you're going to play that nugget, can you put some headphones on or something?
I think Baby wants to contribute to the conversation.
Okay, we'll have some nice acoustic piano music in the background. But I mean, the others, we've got like things like the Netflix Avengers, and then we have like Gotham in its own world.
Yeah.
But then, very separate to that, we have the Arrowverse, which is basically Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, DC, arguably Constantine, and then a number of like one-off anime DC movies.
Yeah.
I mean, Arrow is currently on season 7 at the minute, and it's basically been announced that it's going to have half of season 8, and then it's going to finish. I mean, there's a lot of arguments saying they should have finished it at season 5, because the story for those 5-year that 5-season saga is because the whole story for these first 5 seasons is that he was on an island 5 years ago, and it then lines up that whatever he's doing in the present day is also lining up with what he did exactly 5 years ago. So at the end of this season, there's a very big climax which could have just ended the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it did well, so they carried it on, and the quality has been improving. Like, he's been getting more violent, he's been exploring more darker, more realistic themes. But loads of people have basically said that Arrow's storyline is dead. And because even though Arrow is among the top of like the studio's sort of shows, it's still being overrun by things like Flash and Supergirl. So it is. You have to go.
yeah, I need to go now.
Go.
So, see you guys later.
All right, see you later. We'll hopefully see you on the next podcast or 7 Days to Die.
Yes. Bye.
So so Arrow has basically been cancelled, but they've immediately got another sort of saga that they can use to replace this with the debut of Batwoman and Gotham City. And for those of you who don't know, every year the Arrowverse has a 3 or 4 episodes crossover with all of their heroes, very much in the same Avengers sort of style. Like, it is literally a highlight in DC calendar nowadays. Where they basically fight off this massive threat, like kick loads of ass. A major sort of plot development happens on an individual level, and then everything goes back to normal. But with the one that's recently happened, this crossover was left a quite significant cliffhanger. Yeah, and the main theory is that Oliver Queen, the main character, has sacrificed himself for Flash and Supergirl, who were basically about to kill themselves at the time, and that when the next sort of crossover happens, that sort of sacrifice card is going to be sort of pulled up. But I mean, it comes at a really good time because the studio behind Arrow has basically debuted the Batwoman series, which is basically going to follow the same dark and brooding and extra violent sort of storyline which we have in the Arrow series, as opposed to the more cheerful and comical Flash and DC Legends. So it could go literally either way. And in regards to Netflix, I mean, we've got the latest series Titans and the Umbrella Academy, which sort of both fall into the superhero TV genre. Yeah, so it could go in either direction. Could be good, could be bad. I mean, Supernatural was another one of the studio's creations, and basically their top point has recently been cancelled, and it's been cancelled several. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say cancelled. It's been confirmed that it's finishing, which, in some regards, is the same thing. But in this regard, I'm content with saying it's where the story is going to come to an end. And Supernatural had been cancelled several times in the past, and it's basically been the fan base demanding that it's been brought back, which is what's sort of saved it. So I suppose it's one of those watch the space points. I mean, I seriously doubt this is the end of Steve Amell as Oliver Queen, unless they actually do kill off Oliver in some regard. Okay, so that's basically our talk on Netflix and superhero TV shows in general. Now for the final bit, which is our Captain Marvel review. So, Captain Marvel came out a while ago, and in my opinion, and I'll emphasize this is my opinion, it's not necessarily a film that needed to happen. I mean, the main reason why I want to go see Captain Marvel was to simply answer the question of how Nick Fury had a pager that was capable of contacting Captain Marvel. And I suppose also the question of who is Captain Marvel and how she fit into this. Now, again, spoilers and all that, but basically the story of Captain Marvel is that she is a human person who is then given sort of Superman level powers and is trained to fight the Skrull by the Kree. Now, for those of you who have seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you'll know that the Kree are Ronan's people, the blue guys who are attempting to destroy everything in Guardians of the Galaxy for Volume 1. And it's basically got to the... And it's literally at the point where a younger Ronan is in it, along with the younger Samuel Jackson and Agent Coulson. And yeah, the basic storyline, she blows the living crap out of everything around, but in terms of like the scripted plot, I got a massive Wonder Woman sort of vibe from the storyline. I mean, you start off with an empowered woman who doesn't necessarily know how to control her powers, which is what brings Jude Law in. Through one means or another, she ends up in humanity, realizes just how sort of morally corrupt it is, goes off to fight her main bad guy, realizes that this bad guy isn't all what she initially appears or thought, has a moment of mass realization, then goes into the superpower mode, blows the living crap out of literally everything around her, eventually defeats the main bad guy, and then goes off into some sort of self-imposed exile for the remainder of sort of the gap between that movie and the present day. Which, if you think about it, is the exact same storyline as what Wonder Woman is. And yeah, aside from this obvious sort of cliche, I have to say I did enjoy the movie. I had a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of comical reference points in it, which definitely worked, but in some cases they do go a little bit too far. So, for example, we have the storyline behind how Nick Fury lost sight in his eye. Now, to me, this wasn't a point that needed to be sort of filled, because Colonel Fury, no matter which version you're looking at, whether it's Samuel Jackson or David Hasselhoff, he's always got an eye patch. That is basically the key point of who Nick Fury is. He is a guy with an eye patch. So, and very, very few sort of comics and TV shows that were out actually make a point of explaining how he lost his eye. And to me, the question had already sort of been answered in Captain America Civil War, when Robert Redford's character basically says to Nick Fury after he says, at one point I would have taken a bullet for you, Robert Redford basically turns around and says, you did. And I always assume that was some sort of reference to how Fury lost his eye by getting a shot in the eye to save Robert Redford. Obviously that doesn't happen, and the sort of storyline behind it is incredibly comical, but I won't actually explain it to those of you who haven't seen it, but the main sort of point that you walk away with from this film is the mid-credit scene, which basically ties Captain Marvel to the present-day Avengers. And there seems to be, in the immediate aftermath of the snapping, but where the Avengers are basically in Avengers Tower or Avengers Base or whatever it's called, and they basically have the pager, which is bleeping away. They talked about how they've circumvented the battery and have linked it up to, I don't know, a nuclear reactor or something like that. And they don't know why this thing is going out or where it's going out to, but they want to find out. Because Fury effectively gave his life to turn this thing on. Then all of a sudden it turns off, they turn around, and Captain Marvel is there. And basically demands in a very sort of like, oh, I'm a kick-ass god, where's Nick Fury? And then that's the end. And basically the thing that I sort of get from this, because Marvel has done this before, is that I get the feeling that this is actually a scene taken directly from Avengers Endgame, much in the same way that the ending of Doctor Strange was a scene taken from Thor Ragnarok. So this could basically be the opening to the movie, where they're basically all crowded around this thing after going through where we see Bruce Banner going, like, oh, look at all the people we've lost. They turn around and see Captain Marvel. Thor does this whole intimidation thing that we've seen in the latest trailer, where he summons his hammer and she does nothing about it. And this is just sort of like a scene, a very pivotal scene, that they've taken from Endgame, as opposed to giving us anything sort of that's hinting at a certain event, sort of like we get with all the other Easter eggs that we have seen over the course of the MCU's history. But the thing that I don't particularly like, but when the aliens invade Earth, Captain Marvel basically flies up in a very Superman, Supergirl sort of way and blows the living hell out of a lot of ships, and then just stands really imposingly in front of the mothership, which is where Ronan is. And Ronan, in a very uncharacteristic form of tacticalness or strategicness, basically decides to turn around and fly off. Now, this battle happens pretty much right at the very end of the film, so it's not really that surprising that it has this sort of anti-climax to it. But on the other hand, when this scene is going on, Ronan vows to basically destroy Danvers, who is Captain Marvel, and and as soon as that scene came on, I just thought, what's the point in doing that? Because we know that he won't, because the Guardians of the Galaxy kill Ronan with the Infinity Stone. We also know that Danvers is alive to the present day because she's obviously in the present day. And we also know that this basically says that no major sort of conflict is going to happen between Ronan and Captain Marvel because neither side is going to end up defeated. Ronan is still going to be as powerful as ever with his massive warships, and Captain Marvel isn't dead or otherwise beaten. I mean, admittedly, whenever she reappears at Avengers Tower, she looks like she's gone through hell. She's filthy. She's tense. You can tell that whatever has sort of happened has caused some sort of heartache on her part, which admittedly could just be pulled down to the fact that she's just witnessed half of whatever population that she's in, whether it's the Skrull or some other planet just wiped out. So there is that. But on the other hand, it could be that when she was summoned, she was literally summoned mid-battle and has had to basically fight her way from wherever it was that she was all the way to Earth. But this basically implies that Captain Marvel isn't the person who rescues Tony Stark. And there's a theory going around that the way that Stark appears in the Avengers, because we've seen in the latest trailers that both Nebula and Stark are present at Avengers Towers, particularly in this scene where we see the Avengers in their different coloured suits. And what I'm basically thinking is happening is because of this whole time travel thing that's going around, that Stark dies in space, and they actually use some sort of time travel to go back in time and rescue Stark at a point where he's at his pinnacle. Which, in my mind, would probably be either Iron Man 2, the first Avengers, or at some point after Iron Man 3. But definitely not the Iron Man 3 version. But obviously that could go in different directions. And more importantly, it could be 100% wrong. But yeah, I would recommend to anybody who hasn't seen it that they do see it, simply because they may or may not do some sort of recap on who Carol Danvers is. They might do like they did with the first Avengers film, where they basically show a 30-second flashback as to who each of these characters are. But given how much they have to cram into this movie, the producers of Endgame may simply just assume that the audience has seen Captain Marvel, they know exactly who she is, they know exactly what her storyline is, and doesn't need any of this extra gumph to sort of bolster up her story, which obviously could go either way. Alright guys, so this is the end of this podcast. Tune in for the next one, which will hopefully happen a lot sooner than the gap between number 2 and this one. But feel free to leave a comment. I really want to hear your opinions on various matters, and it really does mean a lot to me to hear all these comments. And yeah, peace out. Special thanks from Dave and Tech, who obviously had to leave a bit earlier. And special thanks from me, especially. But hopefully Tech's channel isn't quite up yet. So, oh, yeah, fuck that. Alright, guys. I've been MattG. You guys have been awesome, and I'll see you soon.